Hi folks, Dan back from Potomac, Maryland with some updates. Just got back from the Delaware beach and did a little tuning on a few radios, including the Tecsun PL-330, which I'll have some thoughts on a bit later, as well as the Coten DX-286 portable, which I was contacted by the company who sent along one of these small portables, which is right behind me here. You can see the antenna sticking up. But I wanted to give you first some information that I received from Raddy or Hanrong Da about the RF919. I know some of you have been waiting weeks for me to provide some updates and additional information on the 919. So let me get right back into that. Back in, let's see, when was this? Back in July, I had sent a note to the Radioddity support team about the RF919, and these are some of the questions I asked them at the time. I said, if the firmware 707, which was the firmware that was in the radio that they sent me after my initial one was bricked because of the firmware update issue. And I asked them if firmware 707 was aimed at reducing soft muting, the problem of soft muting, to any effect, and to what extent did your engineers determine that a reduction was achieved from 707. That was what they initially implied in a note to me a couple months ago, that the new firmware might be aimed at addressing the soft muting issue on the receiver. I also asked them, were any changes made in firmware to reduce the harsh AGC behavior on the 919? I asked them if any other firmware changes were being considered at this point, and was any consideration being given to adding a feature that would enable recalibration when the radio is in lower or upper sideband to correct for frequency error in either mode. Of course, everyone knows that Tecsun is the company that provides a recalibration function. We've seen it on the new 2200X receiver, and it's quite good on that radio. In fact, it seems to, once you make a correction on one part of the band, seems to hold pretty well across all areas of the HF spectrum. So I did get a response on August 1st from Raddy. I'm sorry to just get you this information, but I've been dealing with some issues here at home and taking some time off. And here's the response. Thank you for your patience. As I consulted with our technical department regarding your questions, they indicated that they were unable to quantify the extent of the reduction achieved. That's from the 707 firmware. However, they are aware that many users are still not satisfied with the improvements and will continue to work on addressing these issues through software or firmware updates. They continue, regarding the other feature improvements you mentioned, implementing them may require changing the hardware design, which is a more time-consuming process. Therefore, they say they cannot guarantee when these changes might be realized. Please rest assured that your suggestions have been taken into consideration. Excuse me. So what this tells me is that, again, the 707 firmware that's in the radio behind me that I received back from Raddy after my original one was bricked in the firmware update process, it's impossible for me to tell whether 707 has really improved anything in terms of the soft muting. As other reviewers have noted, when you're using the finer tune control on the 919, the inner concentric dial, and only tuning in 100 hertz segments, the soft muting is far less noticeable than it is if you're tuning in 5 kilohertz increments on the main concentric tuning knob. So, my judgment on the 919 is this. This is really a fantastic radio. It provides you that coverage all the way up to 1 gigahertz, 999 megahertz. Has incredible sound, multi-bandwidth reception, airband, and tunes all the way from long wave all the way up to 1 gigahertz. But my judgment on the 919 is that, it's still seriously hobbled by this soft muting issue. So as I said, I was doing some tuning around at the beach on a short vacation using a few receivers. One of them was the really fine Tecsun PL-330, really beautiful little portable. And, you turn this receiver on. Let me see if I can, 15770. And as you tune, there's really little to no soft muting on this receiver. There's a little bit when you tune. And if you go into, the lower segments, lower increments, let's say, tuning in 1 kilohertz, you really don't hear any soft muting on this radio. I mean, this radio was really a pleasure to tune when I was using it out at the beach in Delaware. Really a pleasure to use. Calibration function works great on it. Really, I can't say enough about the Tecsun PL-330. So the other radio I had with me on my recent short vacation was the Coten DX-286. I was sent this by Coten to review it, and I'll have that review coming up in the next few days. But I have to say that the soft muting problem on this radio is really non-existent. I mean, compared to the Tecsun PL-330, this one is even better. I mean, I've just powered on here in the same frequency, and you can hear. I mean, really very impressive, this Coten DX-286. So, to compare those two radios with something like the RF919 is really night and day. Again, here we are in 15770. Let me see if I can turn the volume up here. So you hear, if I use the outside of the concentric control here, you hear the pauses in audio. If you turn it fast, you have silence. I mean, that is what soft muting is. Now, if I use the fine tuning, which is now set to 0.1, 100 hertz, if I use the fine tuning, it's a little less noticeable. But if you tune it fast, the signal is blanked. Okay, so again, wonderful audio on this radio, wonderful coverage, but here you have the difference between something like this Radioddity RF-919 and the Coten and the PL-330 portables. So the question is, why would one want to choose a radio that has the soft muting issue as the RF919 has versus something like the PL-330 or the Coten mini portable? So I mean, that's the key question that a lot of potential buyers are facing when it comes to making choices between these receivers. Is the RF919 an amazing piece of technology in 2024? It absolutely is. Does it have really wonderful audio? Absolutely yes. Does it have incredible coverage range? Absolutely yes. Does it have all kinds of other features like equalization, ability to record to a micro SD card? Absolutely yes. Does it have antenna tuning, which no other receiver, no other portable available, newer portable has today? Yes, it has. But the question is, I think for the folks that make the RF919, are you going to be able to make the changes that are necessary to greatly reduce or eliminate the soft muting issue on the RF919? Again, you have two small portables like this that are perfect examples of the elimination of soft muting as a problem. And I don't know if you see, but behind me right up there is the Tecsun S8800, which also has no soft muting. It's like tuning a communications receiver, and is also a very high sensitivity portable. Remains a very attractive option for people who are still looking for high performance portables. Anyway, I wanted to give that information to you, that information from Radioddity. So it appears that the 707 firmware that was included in this receiver that I got back from them, it's hard to figure out whether it has actually addressed the soft muting issue at all, or whether that was an objective at all. They made some other minor changes in the operation of the receiver, but in terms of the soft muting, it remains an issue as we begin to exit summertime, getting into the wintertime, fall, autumn, wintertime DX season. So I'll have more on this as I hear more from Raddy about the 919. Hopefully they can make some progress, when they see these examples of the 919 versus receivers such as the Tecsun lineup and something like the Coten, which, even though it doesn't have single sideband, is really an extraordinary little sensitive and selective little portable. With regard to the 919, we're also seeing reviews of the Radioddity version of the receiver, indicating that that version by Radioddity has eliminated the dual 18650 battery arrangement in that particular radio. Apparently, you have the same screw back battery compartment in the Radioddity, but again, according to those reviews, they've changed the battery arrangement. So I can't understand why that particular version of the receiver would eliminate the very nice dual 18650 battery arrangement on this radio. Anyway, thanks for listening. Please like the video and certainly subscribe to my channel. Appreciate the followers and the comments I have here. And I'll be back in a day or so with more information and more views on some of these radios.